Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the African Five-A-Side podcast. I'm your host, Meher Mizahi, and this podcast, as always, is brought to you by africasaCountry.com. Today is a little bit of a different video. As you can see, the intro is different. I'm outside in my balcony. You can see the buildings of Algiers behind me. And today is not just going to be, a regular old podcast of me sitting in front of my computer giving you analysis, on a Champions League match. Rather, this is going to be an interview with Coach Micho, Coach Milutin Sredojevic, the Serbian coach with 23 years of African football experience and the current coach of the Libyan national team. I found that, because of the AFCON and even after, most of my analysis of North African teams has been limited to Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt. Haven't spoken enough about Libya, and I thought this was a good opportunity to speak to him as they are 11 matches in charge. He's been in charge for 11 matches, and they're unbeaten in those 11 matches. They have 4 points in World Cup qualifying, and they have two very, very crucial matches coming up against Mauritius and Cape Verde. So, without any further ado, I'll leave you to the interview. Just some quick apologies about differences in audio levels between myself and the coach. And also, we had a few different technical difficulties. So, if you see that there's a different background behind the coach, it's because the interview had to be chopped up. None of the context of what he said is any different. I just had to do some very light editing. So, yeah, I'll leave you to it. Let me know what you think of Coach Micho's interview. Today, we're doing an interview. We're not doing a normal episode of the podcast, and we're interviewing one of the icons of African football, a man that has spent more than 23 years in African football. In the first decade, he's won 9 league championships, 5 cups, more super cups, and he's really spent the last 10 years approximately or so with national teams. A man that has experience in North Africa, East Africa, Southern Africa. Milutin Sredojevic, known also as Coach Micho. Coach, thank you, and thank you for making the time today.
It is an honor, pleasure, and privilege to come in front of you, Maher. I really respect what you are doing. Positive football generators of football in Africa, like good yourself, are driving force, are inspiration and motivation for all of us working in African football, so that soul food of African football we could deliver in the best possible way as a final product to consumers, supporters, and lovers of the game in Africa.
Coach, the respect is mutual, but I want to get right into the interview. And I want to start with, if it's okay with you, September 2023. You win your last match as the coach of the Uganda Cranes. However, Uganda fall 1 point short of qualifying for the African Cup of Nations. 1 month later, October 2023, you're coaching the Libyan national team. So I just want to ask you, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that separation from the Uganda Cranes, which is, a love story between you and the country. You've spent so much time over there over many different spells. I believe that was mutual separation. Why did you decide to choose Libya just, 1 month later? Why did you pick that country in particular? And why that quickly? Did you ever think about maybe I need to take some time to relax, see my family, or why did you want to jump in right away?
When you are 23 years in African football, you count that working is like you becoming so dependent and so addicted to work that you need immediately to work. Even to Uganda, 10 years of diligent service. In first 3 years with Sports Club Villa Uganda, winning 3 league trophies, 2 cups, Sekafa, Central and Eastern Africa Champions Cup after 17 years bringing to Uganda. And then I have come back 2013, and after 39 years, 2017, we have qualified to Africa Cup of Nations. I have come for the 3rd time to Uganda 2021 in order to join and to, from boys, generation of under 20 that played finals of Africa Cup of Nations in Mauritania 2021, to turn them into men. We did our best in the group with Algeria, Tanzania, and Niger. We got 7 points despite not playing at home, being disadvantaged. Algeria and Tanzania were playing their matches at home. We have expected in last match, if we are winning, that normal things would happen. Algeria would beat Tanzania. However, it did not happen. Football is the game where anything could happen. Tanzania fought hard, got the point against Algeria. Later on, that unexpected result, both teams paid going out into the groups from the group stages in the Africa Cup of Nations. I don't want to enter in anything else. I want to believe that everything was sport, despite some informations going in different directions. I'm a sportsman. I respect coach Adel Amrouche, qualified with Tanzania. Respect coach Jamal Belmadi. And with Uganda, after not succeeding in that mission, I have really run out of fuel to push more. And I really needed a new challenge. And I found my medicine for my football soul into Libya. I had a chance, many established national teams, but I needed to wait to finish the Africa Cup of Nations and then to join them after Africa Cup of Nations. However, I went to Libya fully aware that is a challenging place to go. Country that has won 3 times in last 2 years, country that has won last match against Ethiopia in Chan, and after lost so many matches before October, we turned the page. And I took Libya as a strong believer that in North Africa, behind Algeria, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia, put it in whatsoever order you are putting, Libya has huge challenge to match their North African brothers. And as a person that has played so many times against Libyan teams in a Libyan national team, I believe that there is that spark of pride, having in mind that country went through the revolution. Country is at present in an, I want to call it negative aspect of being divided. And I believe that football could be serving as a unifying factor. 2006, when Ivory Coast were divided, it is their national football team that played a role in uniting the country. And under those circumstances, as a believer in projects, I enter in very risky aspect of working in Libya. And that risk added to the fact that I have made an cut off of the senior experienced players that have served diligently Libya national team. I have highest degree of respect. Some of them are my personal advisors about the past times, what went wrong, what was wrong, what was right to keep, what was wrong to correct. And we went into a mission to revive the pride of Libyan football by trying to connect with North African brothers in a way. And we are on that mission, and I'm extremely happy and proud because Libya is my football medicine, soul food, football to serve to myself and to 8 million of Libyans at home and abroad.
So we're going to talk about, leaving some of the experienced players out and how you decided to build this team. But before we talk about that, let's talk about some of the challenges. As you mentioned, the Libyan national team, you said only 3 wins in the last 2 years. I didn't know that. Some of the statistics I wrote here is, they qualified for the 2012 AFCON. It was spectacular after the revolution. But since then, failure to qualify for 6 AFCONs, 3 World Cups. Well, they've never qualified for a FIFA World Cup. The league was interrupted in 2012, 2013, 2015, 2017, 2019. And the national team has been, prohibited from playing at home really for a long period of time. I believe they returned before you took on the national team, but from 2013 until 2000 and I believe 19 or 20, the national team was prohibited from playing at home. So all of these factors meant that, in my opinion, a really, really good Libyan generation of players had a very, very tough challenge of, all of these factors against them, from instability, from, not being able to play at home. And many of them, they decided to play in, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, MLS, and so on and so forth. You look at all of this, so many challenges, but for you're more excited about the potential of creating this bigger story more than taking on the risk of taking a job like this, knowing that so many extra sporting issues can affect you.
I agree with you. There are so many challenges, and I have never been crybaby or excuse maker or blame shifter, fault finder. I have always looked for solutions to solve the problems. And I need to be sincere with you. When you are reaching to Libya, and federation has so many challenges in organizing the league in eastern and western part, 11 teams. Then in September we had a disaster in Derna with many people losing their life, and I have entered in that work only even on the wings of that negativity, and I have used that negativity as a motivational factor because every day, each moment we live is actually, and I want to call it special credit given from Allah to us in order to live our lives and to have chance to be alive. And based on that disaster, I have used that as motivational factor to the national team so that we could start in a winning way, and players have really given their the best, despite the fact that still we have not started the league. I fully agree with you. There were many challenges, since that revolution. People were expecting revolution will bring total change and it will be bed of roses. However, it was not meant to be. So many talented players that have really made a stamp and mark through club football, because when you are looking, there is a funny aspect. Countries at present 29 in Africa as a national team, but we are in top 12 leagues on the continent, and this talks volume that investment of Libyans and connection with the clubs. Now I'm really trying, there is a culture of supporting the clubs. Similarly, what is, for example, in Tanzania, where people love more Simba and Yanga than their national team. You cannot convince the people to love their national team, to use national team as a pride, if you are not making results. So respecting the giants of Libyan football, Al Ahly, Ittihad from Tripoli or Tripoli Derby Masters. On the other side, the Benghazi guys with Al Ahly, Al Nasser, and Hilal, Al Akdar. On this side, so many good teams is meaning. People really love football in a special way. Still, public did not return to the accepted Benina stadium, where really atmosphere is showing
amazing.
That people are thirsty and hungry of football. Football is soul food for the people, and they love football in a special way. When I watch Libyan Premier League, I have sense when they score the goal, same like they have won the World Cup. Is that kind of celebration, that moment of excitement that you ask yourself, it is really injustice. Why these people do not turn the energy, the passion, and all other aspects from the point of talent and quality to turn into the performance and result? And this is where my inspiration, where my motivation lies. And I'm the person that is motivated with talent and quality of the players, with passion and love for the game of Libyans. And I fully count myself and as a servant of Libyan football, so that we are using national team as unifying factor to help country heal from all the negativities that you've already mentioned that happened in Libya and are still happening. But football is a hope. With a club where we want to have teams in Champions League and in Confederation Cup group stages, or with national team that we want to qualify, we want to go to the CHAN that will play in September in Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. We want to go to Africa Cup of Nations, Morocco 2025, and we want in very tough group with Cameroon Cape Verde and Angola, all of them being in top 16 of last Africa Cup of Nations, talking volume how strong is our group and very competitive. From that group, we don't want to be just participants. We also want to be contenders. And to happen that we got just opened recently Tripoli International Stadium, and everyone knows in Africa when peace was there in Libya, how hard it was to come to Tripoli International Stadium with 50,000 excited supporters supporting the team. I believe that player number 12 that we missed so much, that was against Cameroon at Benina, that will be on Tripoli International Stadium. Player number 12 is so important, and we want to turn the page and to make Libyans proud and happy of their national team.
Coach, can I ask you an honest question?
Yeah.
I don't consider you to be a foreigner. I consider you to be African. But when you take a job like, let's say, the Libyan national team or any national team, sometimes, sometimes if you're a foreign coach, you can be criticized because usually what they'll say is he doesn't know the people's mentality. He doesn't know the local players, the local league. However, the advantage for sometimes a foreign coach can also be, in places like in North Africa and all countries in North Africa, for example, sometimes players can form cliques. They can be very influential on a national team. Sometimes club presidents or federation presidents can be very influential on a national team. And when a foreigner comes in, they don't have to deal, they maybe have more freedom, they're not under the influence of, let's say, under influence of powerful people in football to select this player, select that player, select this player, select that player. So I want to ask you, when you're building a new national team, is it an advantage or a disadvantage to be a foreign coach, in your opinion?
First of all, wherever I'm coming, and this is my fourth national team, and you're absolutely right, I take my country, Serbia, in my heart, my football knowledge and experience in my head, but deep under the skin, I want to become, for example, more Libyan than all Libyans. To know the culture, tradition, style of life, habits of Tripoli, of Benghazi, and from Zawara up to 1,890 kilometers of the long coast of Libya, to know the country up to Sabha down all over in the Sahara Desert, to know the country deep inside out. It's meaning I want to become one of them. Then I'm not a small boy that has come to make his name in Libya. I'm an established coach that has a reputation of love and respect, has a reputation of having a brand name, and starting afresh is practically you enter in a risk, same like entering in casino and starting to play, to gamble. But if you stay with so-called experienced big name players, you have a risk that you can have double fault. And double fault is that you can fail to make a result and you have not rejuvenated the team. However, in my case, I have situation where I'm rejuvenating the team and I want to make the result. I could have double win.
I want to ask you, Coach, somebody with your experience, you've taken different national teams on multiple occasions. What's the number one thing after you sign the contract? What's the number one thing you do? Do you open a Wikipedia page and research about the country? Do you have conversation with your staff? Do you go on platforms like Y-Scout and look at all the players' highlights? What's the number one thing you do?
After 23 years in Africa, I'm a witness of time, and as such, I do not just coach African players, I love them. For example, we have played just now Togo in Morocco, friendly match. And I remember when Dene Jaconam was left full back and he was first time playing for Togo. Now he's playing in Getafe in Spain. And, I was reminding him. Or when we played against Algeria, I remember that first goal scored for Algeria, Slimani, had against Rwanda. I was coaching Rwanda at that time and what. So I was reminding him, I do not just coach in Africa. I'm not just mechanically around. I really live life and love people, love football, love players. And in that regard, for any country on the continent, I know in advance, because I still remember my first international match as a national team coach. It was supposed to be in Eritrea, and closed country where like someone pressed the button and life has stopped 30 years ago. They have called it Piccolo Roma, that place, Asmara. We played the first international match in that way, and it was absolutely not easy. However, I believe I have done quite well from that point. And after over 250 matches under my belt in 4 national teams, and is a bit strange that I have so many matches in 4 national teams, because for me, I have and believe that I look at the 2 things. And first is, wherever I am, I look at the field and out of the field. And I do an extensive research from a point of aspect. Then from that, I move to the international friendly matches that I use to try to test, to experiment before entering in competitive matches where I have an unbelievable record in competitive matches. Having in mind that I was not coaching the highest profile of the national teams. So international friendly matches and so many matches where I try, test, and experiment are helping me so much. Even now, since October, we have played 11 matches, what is just showing that we are developing, because matches in the legs are mileage for the players, getting experience, getting sense what is meaning carrying the jersey of national team, developing the performance, getting unity, togetherness, gelling together as a team, and trying to establish a team that will be extremely competitive when competition comes and we are playing Mauritius and Cape Verde.
So it's a extensive research of your players that you're going to have, yeah?
Sleepless nights, hard-working days, sometimes an unbelievable madness entering in the deepest attention of the details, that you would think, is this guy even normal guy? But for me, I don't sleep nights. I really work very hard during the days, and I really try to go deep into the matter. It's like neurosurgeon operation, touching every single detail. And by touching every single detail, it helps so much. It helps so much because I do not come with reputation of the big coach. I must replace that with extremely hard work, with iron discipline, with absolute order and organization. And the most important, what I believe that I have, man management with the family atmosphere where everyone is loved, everyone is respected, and everyone is loving and respecting the group where I work. And atmosphere is the most important aspect when you are a chemistry. Spirit is something that makes the difference. No matter what is your name, if you don't have spirit and chemistry inside your national team, you have big challenge and big problem.
So I actually can attest to what you're saying. I remember speaking to many Ugandan colleagues, and I was asking them about, your strengths and weaknesses as a coach. They didn't actually go into any weaknesses, but they told me the amount of homework he does is crazy. So when you say madman, they said like stacks of papers and folders on scouting the other team, scouting players in the championship. And these were from respected journalists in Uganda. So I can attest to everything you just said. So you get to Libya.
But before you continue,
Go on.
when you talk about Ugandans, as a weakness, I need to accept that they have told me there that we are too defensive orientated. However, I need to tell you, I don't count that as a weakness. I count that as a recognition of Ugandan national team quality. Ugandans have over the years had enormous amount of quality in defensive approach. Is the mindset. In general, they're having problems with attacking part, but with defensive, they are in top 5 in Africa. So in life and in football, you can spread your legs as long as you're blanket. So you need to use the quality you have for the result you could get.
So let me ask you that in particular, because you've coached, like I said, your career is almost split in half. The first half was club teams, and then the second half seems to be national teams. I know there was stints in Zamalek and Pirates, really good. But I just wanted to ask you, as a club manager, especially if you have many years at the club, especially if you have the trust of the board or of the president or of the owner, if you have influence there, you can, pick out some targets of players that you like, the styles that you like. You're working with the players every day. You can fashion them, you can work on a tactical philosophy. But with a national team, if you like to play the ball out with a goalkeeper, with a ball-playing goalkeeper, but the national team doesn't have any ball-playing goalkeepers, you have to adapt, yeah? Do you enjoy this aspect of national team coaching where you have to adapt to what the country has? Or do you prefer more what you had? Because it's challenging, right? It's a challenge. Or do you prefer more like working with the players on an everyday basis and working on your philosophy like you did at the clubs?
I need to tell you, I was always coaching very big teams, and very big teams need to have an attacking philosophy. Keeping the line high, pressing high, attacking always, less defending, and in football there are two things. One easy, and that is to sit back and to counter-attack, and one hard, to attack and to close counter-attack. So under those circumstances, where I was, we have been extremely attacking oriented. However, some countries, due to limited amount of time working with the players, you need to pack in 5 days so much of the things, issues that you recognize. So even for that, I have found on almost daily basis, I do so-called distance coaching, watching the players in their clubs, doing the corrections and analysis, what you could do better in this situation or the other situation. And this is my way to make the bridge between having so little time to do much more and to achieve much more with the national team. What I'm here talking about, for example, we are supposed to play against Cameroon or Eswatini. I have watched 10 matches of Eswatini in the last 2 years, knowing each player deep inside out, and we have exactly passed through where we could pass through the central defense. Then it is issue of Cameroon that we have also followed. I have followed since Rigobert Song was becoming their coach. I have seen them in their shining aspect, beating Algeria, going to the World Cup. I have seen them in rock bottom down aspect. So under those circumstances, it's so important that you do behind the scenes an invisible match already playing. When the players are in the clubs, to have a distance coaching, to do the scouting on the opponent teams, to prepare the video. For example, Maher Mezrahi is clashing with Riyad Mahrez, for example. You need to know that you need to close his left foot. You need to know that you cannot allow him to receive, because if he receive and control the ball after, you are dead and buried. And whatsoever. And under those circumstances, we have succeeded to stop even the best players that Africa has. I remember once Mohamed Salah was looking like a small boy in England. He was scoring 57 goals. He came to Uganda, and one player, Malusimbi Godfrey, put him in the pocket. He was not himself. So this is my bridge that I use, and I make so many bridges.
So if I'm a player for Coach Micho, I can, let's say I'm at my club for the next 3 months. There's no international window. I can expect to receive in my email, like, or do you do Zoom calls with every one of them? Do you send them a package in their email? How do you do this distance coaching, if I can ask you?
First of all, I take the video material and then I share with the players. Due to the fact that today's players, football is in the maybe last point of their priority. In time back, football was much more priority, but you cannot bring them 1 hour of football. You need to bring to them few minutes, and in few minutes, you touch exactly details that you are hammering in their head and is staying, that is benefiting their performance in the club. And while benefiting in the club, they are bringing that to the national team so that we purely have theoretical awareness about strengths and weaknesses of the opponent. We are having mental strength about the strengths and weaknesses of the opponent. We are enough physically fit to match the international standards because we usually play against the players that are playing in Europe and they have the highest physical standards. To be technically effective for international football because time, space, and numbers are provided, and your technique cannot be like in any other training. It is limited time, limited space, provided numbers, high pressure on the ball, and then there is tactical competitiveness that we do in few days of training, preparing for the matches so that we could perform and get the best version of ourselves.
Very good. So now I've been talking about, your principles and, theoretical questions. If it's okay, can we talk about some practical, realistic things that, I observed that I try to watch as much of the Libyan national team as possible with the resources that I have since October. And as you mentioned, and as I've been reading and as I've been speaking to Libyans, almost everybody says the coach has had unbelievable results. He's been doing a great job. But if there's any criticism that anybody's had, it's why doesn't he pick this player? Why doesn't he pick that player? Why doesn't he pick this player? Why doesn't he pick that player? So if it's okay with you, I wanted to ask you first about players that you picked, especially the experienced players that you picked. There's the striker, Ahmed Akrawa, who personally, to be honest, I didn't know too much about. As I've been watching him, I've been very, very impressed with, he seems to be an all-around striker with the way he hustles defenders, the way his link-up play, the way he's been finishing, assisting. A very well-rounded striker, but 34 years old. Also, Faisal Al-Badri, very, elegant midfielder, passed the ball through the lines, very experienced as well. He wasn't called up. I think the last time was since 2021, if I'm not mistaken. It's been 3 years. And you brought him back. And then also one of the players that people have been talking about that you bring as well, also experienced, Abdeslam Toubal. These are not like the only experienced players that you have in the squad, but I wanted to ask you about these three in particular. Why did you bring them back? Why did you put so much trust in them? And how did you come to the decision, especially with these three players?
First of all, I need to tell you, when I came in October, I brought the squad 22 years average age. Then, assessing 3 matches we have played there against Liberia, Niger, and Somalia, where I have given chance to the second team against Somalia. I need to tell you that I have deeply analyzed what are the aspects we need. And one of the aspects we needed touch of maturity, seniority, and experience that could, in moments when the tough gets going and the going gets tough, they could have that touch of maturity and seniority. And having in mind that I was looking at the players in the league and that I knew so much about them, any coach, when you bring the players to the national team, you don't want to import the problem. You want to import the solution. You don't want to bring the players, and I'm not mentioning any names, that you need to beg them to play for their own national team. Because in life, you can have one mother and one country. And when you have that in mind, this is unquestionable for me. So these 3 players have been brought to do the double job, to be extended hand of coaching in training, outfield, and in matches especially, to me. I have trust, confidence, and believe in them. They are captain and 2 deputies of captains. And they're helping me to be extended hand of coaching and help the team in transition until these young players get maturity, seniority, and experience. Because you cannot have all the young players and then expect that things will happen. We needed these players as a bridge that will help in double way with exemplary performance. And all three of them are having exemplary performances. Tabal with assistances and leadership in and out of the field. Ahmed Krava with goals scored, leadership in and out of the field in training and organization. Faisal Al-Bedri with performance and overall maturity and seniority, extended hand of coaching. And something that I'm extremely proud and I need to share with you. I have infected them with love for the football in a new way, so that now all three of them want to start for coaching badges and want to be the coaches.
Beautiful.
Want to be the coaches. For example, Krava, that was undermined players for years. He was one of the best scorers in Libya. He was not getting chance. I brought him. He has motivation to prove with goals. He has motivation to be leader. He has motivation to be the new coach. And he has started CAF D license, and he wants to be the coach. And this is my pride. For example, in Uganda last year, double trophy League and Cup has been won by the player that has 2003, when I was his coach. In the morning, I make the training. In the afternoon, he went to his village to make the training, and he became the coach. Now he's double winner of the League and Cup in Uganda. So this is a pride. And my job as a foreign coach is not just come and make a result. It's also leaving the legacy. Because in Libya, we have 21 teams competing without Dernes because of known situation. But we have 18 foreign coaches and only 3 local coaches. So our job is also to leave the legacy behind. And this is why these 3 players are having a role beyond the field of play. They are my right hand from a point of organizing the team in training, out of training, in matches, and giving the performance to the nation.
And again, I can corroborate what you're saying. You know, me and you, we privately spoke about the current Sundance coach, Rolani Mokoena, who was your assistant at Orlando Pirates. And you had nothing but good things to say about him. And as I was doing my research, he was talking about you on a South African media, and he said, you know, one of the things that I learned from Micho was how much trust he had. He wasn't threatened by his assistants. He had trusted us so much, and he empowered us. And he thought that was really one of the things that you did very well, is, you know, passing on this love and passing on this love for coaching that you do so well.
And please don't forget, for example, Khalid Bakit, present assistant coach to Ibenge, was starting coaching when I was in Al Hilal. Present assistant coach also to Al Hilal. He was my video analyst. He won the 2 trophies with St. George of Ethiopia. They took him to Al Hilal. Present assistant coach on Africa Cup of Nations, Abdulaziz, was my assistant coach in Zamalek. So I really try to not just work as working, but also to keep in connection and leave the legacy behind.
As you mentioned, your team is 11 matches undefeated, I think, over the last 9 since October. What is that? Approximately 7 months, 8 months? Yeah.
7 months.
I think last year, Egypt and Algeria went 13 matches undefeated. That was the most for the calendar year, I think, of 2023. You're 11 matches undefeated.
No. Jamal Belmadi was going 36 matches, if you remember.
Yes.
And this is homework for so many people in Africa. With such a team, 36 matches was really a legacy he left. Unfortunately, you cannot get records and results. I regret that he didn't go to the World Cup.
Yes. No, I was talking about the calendar year of 2023, just particularly 2023. So those were the best African teams, and they did 13. So 11 is really, really good so far. I want to ask you, though, about your squad, about your group. Now 6 to 7 months on, do you feel like you found your group of players, like 80% of the group? I know you can never say this is the 23 that I'm going to have for the rest of my life, Do you think you found your group of players with just maybe a few to add, maybe a few to subtract, or are you still really in the stage where you're really it can be a clean slate and you can be extensively still looking for the core of your team?
First of all, I believe that we got an identity, that we got an unity, togetherness, we got an spirit, we got an chemistry. And now bringing and I'm extremely proud when you analyze the consistency aspect. There are 20 players that are constantly, since October, they are around. It's meaning there is not too much turnaround, maybe 15 to 20% is rotating, but this is due to so many circumstances, injuries, deepening in form, someone coming up and whatsoever, and still looking for the things to look at, and I simply believe 80% you need to have your core, you need to have your backbone and something that is your trusted soldiers. And then 5 players are injection of other values, that you add always as a surprise and as additional value, as something that will replenish and re-strengthen your team.
Very good. And yeah, as I've been watching them, it seems to be like that. Consistently, I see players, in the starting lineup, like a.k.a, who we talked about, Tubal, but also Omar Khoja. I've seen Fadel Ali Salama, Faisal Badri, Ali El Musrati. Like you say, many of the players that are they time and time again. I was really impressed with the goalkeeper. After Nishnoush was there for so long, I was wondering who Libya's successor will be, but El Wahishi has done, I think, a good job so far.
Yes.
So I want to ask you now, we're gonna finish this interview soon. Recently we've seen, as you mentioned, the stadium renovation in Tripoli, the El Benina Stadium in Benghazi, the El Benina Martyr Stadium against Cameroon. I love it because it's very intimate. The supporters, you could feel them. You could tell that they have a real effect on the players. They could feel it in their bones, that kind of the atmosphere, because they're very close to, they're not very far away with a running track. I love this about these Libyan stadiums. The fact that you're playing matches at home again, the fact that you have a new group regenerated, mostly domestically based. However, you seem to have, like you say, your group. Is it too early to say that Libya is back? I know, like, politically things can change at any time, but it feels like there's a new stage of Libyan football now. Positive results, young group of players playing at home again. Do you feel like you have the good platform, the good basis for these challenges that are coming ahead with the AFCON and with the World Cup qualifiers coming?
I need to be sincere to you, Maher. It happened that when I have come, so many questions have been posed, but you cannot answer your question verbally. You need to answer your questions practical way, and I believe we have practically answered the question. And we have been just one wing of many wings of Libyan football renaissance. Stadiums, Tripoli stadium. We are expecting that Benghazi stadium will soon get open. Even plans for the other stadiums to be renovated. And why not? If you remember, it was supposed to be 2012. It was supposed to be in Libya, Africa Cup of Nations.
Yes.
It was not happened to be. Then they moved to 2017. It was not happened to be. I believe that all of us, our Libyan football family, with, I need to admit, respectful support of our North African brothers from any country of North Africa, we feel that you feel us as our brothers, and that we have and support that sooner rather than later we shall succeed to host first under 17, under 20, eventually CHAN, eventually even Africa Cup of Nations, and that Libya will, in similar way, have a national football team being the pride of the nation, the way it is from Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria to Morocco. So we are looking at that. Also, we are excited. There is huge diaspora all over the Europe, where we are having so many young players. If we are telling you the decisive goal for the Germany to win the World Cup has been scored by a boy with Libyan blood, Al-Kabar, from Borussia Dortmund, and we don't know whether he will play for German national team. But same like you in Algeria, in Morocco, Tunisia, or Egypt, we are looking to convince those players to come and play for their blood country, country of their blood, and where their family live, or not, but still having the right to play for Libya. So that we also follow the footsteps of the rest of our brothers in North Africa, and we really, in a good competitive environment, look to develop Libyan football, North African football, and African football.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of Libyans in Canada, and we used to play football together. I was always amazed by the technical quality of Libyan players in general. In my opinion, some of the best in North Africa. Very, very technical. Maybe not physically, maybe not as good as some of the other countries, but technically, I was always very impressed. I wanted to ask you, I think the last question, have you had many conversation with, regular Libyans, civilians on the street? And if so, what did they tell you about, their national team, or what do they tell you about the hopes they have for their national team?
Look, we have made from question marks on the start through a light on the end of the tunnel being seen. We are still very far what we are supposed to be, but on the wings of confidence of the 11 matches behind, on the support that all Libyans are ready to render in order to get proud of their national team. I need to tell you, yes, Libyans have a special aspect of technical skills. We need to turn those skills into the competitiveness. And I believe that we are on good road to fulfill our triple dream target. To go to the Chan and do well there, to go to the AFCON and do well there, and to be not just participants but contenders to go to the World Cup. It would be a dream come true. Every single dream success starts with a dream and steps. Exactly, those ordinary people in all spheres of life are the biggest motivation. The biggest power given to me and to us people in football is to make millions happy. That is blessing given to us by Allah or God, whatever we believe. And this is why I have sleepless nights and hardworking days in order to serve the people and make them happy and proud.
Sorry, this is absolutely the last question. Can you just give me a word about the upcoming two matches, Mauritius and Cape Verde, in June? I would like to maybe come out to Libya for those matches, or for one of those matches. I believe Mauritius is at home, if I'm not mistaken, and Cape Verde is away from home. Two different matches. I think somebody as tactically astute as you very much enjoyed Cape Verde's performances at the African Cup of Nations. But I'm very curious to see somebody that does as much homework as you, how you're going to scheme and how you're going to try to strategize against Cape Verde in particular away from home. I think that's going to be a fascinating matchup. But can you give me a quick word about those two matches that are upcoming up, and what are maybe some of the challenges and some of the, your motivation into coming into those two matches?
First of all, I haven't sensed that these 11 matches behind us did not happen. And I want to chase them out of the head of the players, because moment when they are in the head of the players, we are losing the operational level of ours. We are finishing the regular part of the Libyan Premier League on 25th of May. After that, we are getting our players. We want to organize 2 international friendly matches in Libya that will be with the teams that are having a resemblance of the teams we shall play. Mauritius at home, where we believe that we shall dominate an attack and close the counter-attack, because we believe that we must go all out and get a win. It will not be easy. I have watched them against Chad. It is not that Chad qualified to the group stages of Africa Cup of Nations. We are looking forward to touch every detail, because maybe all the unlucky situations that happened to them in Chad and at home could turn against us. I want to be very serious, because we need to respect football, respect our opponents, and have a self-respect to everything what we have done until now in order to be Mauritius. After that comes the mother of all battles, and that is Battle of Praia. 2017, I have gone with Uganda there, and I have won. It is an absolutely very hard place to go and get anything. Wind is pushing throughout the match. On island there, when you land and when you come, and artificial ground and everything, it will be very, very hard. However, we want to prepare ourselves. It is the biggest measurement of value, test of character for this generation of Libyan players. But we have nothing to lose. We are playing against one of the favorites together with Angola and Cameroon. We shall come out and show who we are, what we are, and what we are capable. So I look at that match from that point with the deepest possible details of analyzing, having the highest degree of respect to Coach Bubista and his players, that are really great competitive team that have shown, even on Africa Cup of Nations, unlucky to not go beyond the quarterfinals, being stopped by South Africa, if you remember. But I'm telling you, whatever has been behind us, thank you, is platform. But in football, you are as good as your next match. And this is what we are looking towards Mauritius and Cape Verde matches ahead of us.
Coach, thank you for your time. Just a last reminder, Libya do have 4 points in FIFA World Cup qualifying. If they can come away with, I think, 4 or maybe 6 points from the next 2 matches, that would be incredible. And they would be well on their way, perhaps, to achieving their dream of qualifying for the first ever World Cup. Why not? Coach, thanks again for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be speaking soon and closely following your latest adventure with the Libyan Mediterranean Knights. Thanks again.